heads up that on November 20th, I am leading a brand new 10-day live course called Becoming Love. And it's all about how to bring the heart of the world's wisdom teachings right into your relationships. I've distilled the 10 most transformational practices that I've discovered over 2 decades of teaching, 10 tools that you can use to transform your relationships for the rest of your life. If you want the details for this course, just go to the show notes or go to mellyobrien.com/becominglove. Let's dive into the episode. Hey, and welcome to the Deep Resilience Podcast. I'm your host, Melly O'Brien, and in this podcast, along with my weekly newsletter and the Deep Resilience program, we are focusing on one clear goal: translating the best evidence-based tools and the deep wisdom teachings on mental resilience into practical everyday strategies that are accessible to everyone. It is my deep passion to bring you content that breaks down big concepts in ways that make sense to you, but also to make sure I give you tools in each episode that you can immediately use to grow your inner strength and create real positive change in your life and in the world. And hey, if you want to take your inner strength to the next level, be sure to join my newsletter at mellyobrien.com, where you'll receive a whole range of extra benefits, special offers, and bonuses. Let's dive in now to today's episode. Hey friends, today I am going to explore with you something that psychologist David Richo calls the 5 givens of life. These are 5 simple truths that once we learn the kind of spiritual practice of embracing these, they can really free our minds and hearts in quite a profound way. So I want to take you back, because my first exposure to this lesson came many years ago when I was a student learning meditation. So during this time of my life, I went on a lot of long meditation retreats. I spent so much time during these long retreats at an ashram that was nestled deep in the Australian bush. It's a beautiful, peaceful place, surrounded by forest and these huge mountains. And it was so serene most of the time. So every evening in this place, after dinner, the whole ashram would enter noble silence. So nobody spoke to each other anymore, and you would really keep your energy to yourself. So the idea of noble silence is that this is a time that we are all focused on cultivating presence. So there was a really beautiful aura in the air from 8 p.m. at night until 8 a.m. after breakfast the next morning. And in the morning, that was when everybody did their meditation practice, pre-dawn. So you would wake up in the morning and the whole place would just feel sacred, quiet, steeped in stillness. And, you know, we would go to the meditation hall in the morning when the first light was just dawning, the stars were still in the sky, and we'd walk to the meditation hall wrapped in blankets, wrapped in silence, and there was just this sense of reverence in the air. And then there were the possums. So some mornings, right in the middle of our meditation, right in the middle of that sacred silence, thundering footsteps would start overhead in the meditation hall, screeching, scrambling, scratching, full-blown possum warfare across the roof and sometimes under the floorboards underneath us. And literally you could feel vibrations in the floor. And it was jarring. I mean, it was almost absurd against the backdrop of that otherwise gentle and contemplative space. And I would feel myself contract in those moments. They're ruining the silence. I'd be thinking, this moment was supposed to be still. This is my one retreat to be here and deepen in presence. And, the possums, they did not get the memo. They came back again and again, and some days were louder than others. Some days we could barely hear our meditation instructor even speaking. So after one of these particularly frustrating incidents, one of my teachers noticed me walk out of the meditation hall, and I let out a big sigh, and I kind of must have had a bit of an exasperated look on my face, and he smiled softly at me and said, "Possums again?" I nodded. He paused for a moment, and I think he must have sensed some of the tension that I was feeling, and he said something that I'll never forget. He said, Melly, the practice of meditation isn't about having silence. It's learning how to be the silence within the noise. And at that moment, something in me shifted, and I realized that the possums were not the problem. My resistance to them was. From then on, the possums became my teachers, because the reality is that this is what life does too, right? Just when we think we've got everything serene and under control and nice and peaceful, something thumps across the ceiling of our life. A memory, a disappointment, an old fear, a flash of emotion. Some part of life shows up uninvited or inconvenient. And in that moment, we have a choice. Do we resist it? Do we judge it? Do we wish it away? Or do we soften, breathe, and learn to relate to it differently? That was the lesson the possums gave me, that peace doesn't come from controlling everything outside of us. It comes from learning how to meet that noise in ourselves, in the world, in others, with presence and grace. So when we pan out from possums to the larger story of our lives, this is where David's book, The 5 Givens of Life, comes in, because he says in his book that there are 5 givens of being human. And he points out that it's not the givens themselves that cause our suffering, it's our struggle against them, very much like the possums. So it can be good to bring these givens into the light of our awareness so that we can relate to them more skillfully and enjoy more ease and peace and enjoyment in the flow of our lives. So here are the 5 givens according to David Richo. Given number 1, everything changes and ends. Given number 2, things do not always go according to plan. Given number 3, life is not always fair. Number 4, pain is a part of life. 5, people are not loving and loyal all of the time. Now you might be thinking to yourself in this moment, well, yeah, thanks for the inspiring lesson today, Melly. But hear me out, because David's message in this book is actually a really beautiful one. So when we fight what is, when we try to make life line up perfectly with our preferences. We create layers of tension and stress and disappointment, and that's on top of the moments that might already be kind of hard. But if we can learn to bring our peace to those moments, if we can bring an unconditional yes to those givens, if we can accept that change, imperfection, and pain are woven into the fabric of being human, then something remarkable can happen. We discover a deeper kind of freedom and peace of mind that we can carry with us, whatever happens. So modern research echoes this. Studies in acceptance and commitment therapy, for instance, show that practicing acceptance rather than control reduces stress and strengthens emotional resilience. So acceptance isn't passivity. It's simply releasing the fight with reality so we can free up our energy to respond wisely and show up wholeheartedly in the flow of our lives. So there's a really beautiful Zen practice we can use to stay empowered, present, and peaceful in the face of the 5 givens. It's a question we can ask ourselves, especially in difficult moments or moments of resistance or struggle or resentment, fear. It's simply this. The question is, this being the case, how shall I proceed? So the first part of this question, this being the case, is an acknowledgement of acceptance. It's a way of saying to ourselves, okay, this is how it is right now. It's a quiet bow to reality. This being the case. The second part, how shall I proceed, turns us towards conscious action, conscious response, whether internal or external. So it's inviting us to respond with wisdom rather than from reactivity. So in my case with the possums, there was something happening there that I didn't want to be happening. So in my mind, I was thinking they're ruining the peace. I only have this one retreat to go. I hate this. Why can't we meditate somewhere else? I'm going into a big mental spiral of annoyance. So what I learned was to pause and accept and then proceed with awareness, right? So this being the case, how shall I proceed? And in that moment, it was choosing just to come back to my breath, relax with the way things were, and continue my meditation. Actually becoming a stronger meditator by learning about equanimity. So in another case, let's say a disappointment happens, somebody lets you down. Instead of spiraling into, how could they, or resentment, or, anxiety or overwhelm, any of that, you can simply say to yourself, this being the case, how shall I proceed? In other words, I accept that disappointment happens from time to time. Everybody gets disappointed. It's just a part of life. So to let go of all of that resistance that it shouldn't be that way, it should be something different, they shouldn't have done this or that, and to simply come back to a focus on choosing your next step, your response to that situation from a place of clarity, wisdom, and peace. So of course, this practice doesn't erase the pain or that initial kind of disappointment, but what it does do is it prevents you from adding lots of mental layers of annoyance and suffering and struggle on top of it. It roots you back in calm presence, right there in the middle of it all. Right? So the more we practice this, the more we begin to see that peace isn't about having a quiet roof or a life without disappointment, hardship, or even chaos. It's about learning over time to meet that chaos with a quiet, strong, and dignified heart. Everything changes and ends. Things don't always go to plan. Life isn't always fair. Pain is a part of life. People aren't loving and loyal all the time. But this being the case, how shall we proceed? With presence, with kindness, with a willingness to let go of resistance and meet life as it is. Because the truth is, life will keep thumping across the ceiling, but we can learn to sit there grounded, awake, courageous, even as it does. So, here's the invitation. If you care to, if you find yourself today facing a moment of disappointment or where something just doesn't go your way, annoyance, or a mind full of noise, emotions that are unwanted, just try that. Practice, pause, take a breath, and quietly ask yourself mentally, this being the case, how shall I proceed? I hope this is helpful for you. I hope that question guides you back to greater calm, clarity, and courage again and again and again. Thank you for your practice, my friends. Thank you for being here with me on the journey. I appreciate you. I wish you a great week, and I look forward to being back here with you again for the next episode.
If you know someone who you think might benefit from listening to this episode, share it with them. Sharing it could really help them to feel better and improve the quality of their life. And if you found this episode helpful, remember to subscribe to this podcast so that you can receive more tips on growing your inner strength and keep practicing along with us every week. And if you'd like some more support in becoming mentally, emotionally, and spiritually stronger, come check out the offerings I have to support you on my website at www.mellyobrien.com. As well as coaching and course options, I also have a bunch of free resources for you, including a free Deep Resilience Care Package, which you can begin to use right away to get some immediate relief from stress and suffering, improve your resilience and mental well-being, and help you navigate whatever you're going through with more wisdom, skill, and confidence. You can find the links for all of that in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in. Take care and stay strong.